Today on Locked On Red Wings, Vladimir Tarasenko is reportedly being shopped. Buchelnikov finds a new home in Russia, and the Red Wings sign a new goalie who no one has ever heard of.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We're your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley, and we have what we would call a grab bag episode for you guys today. Finally, it feels kind of nice, a break from the action to have enough Red Wings news and notes to actually have a full episode on that rather than just doing more off-season content, so to speak. So you got lots of reports, Scotty, out today about various different players. We had the signing yesterday of a goalie, a little late to the reaction on a couple of the Red Wings' former coaches getting new contracts with different teams. Just a bunch of different stuff to talk about, and we'll talk about all of that on today's episode. But Scotty, happy Thursday, by the way. I haven't given you a chance to speak yet, but he is here. If you're listening on audio, he is sitting across from me. Well, on the other side of the webcam, at least. And let's lead off with the Vladimir Tarasenko stuff, man. This isn't new. If you're a Red Wings fan, there have been reports and rumors that they might try to trade him or maybe buy him out. But it feels like this is the first concrete rumor we've had in a while, and this comes from Dave Pagnotta of the Fourth Period. And so take that with a grain of salt because he's very hit or miss. But he reports that the Red Wings are again taking calls on Vladimir Tarasenko. Now, just on the surface level, Scotty, how do you react to that news? Are you pro trading Vladimir Tarasenko, or are you willing to have him back next season?
My first reaction to this news is no bleep, dude. What? Yeah, okay, cool. This all this is confirming, I guess, something that is painfully obviously happening and was always going to happen. Yeah, dude, if the Wings can somehow unload that contract, even though there's only a year of it left, they are going to do it in a heartbeat. He had a disaster of a season. And, if they do end up on opening night, still having him in the lineup, then so be it. And they'll try to get the most out of him and try to have him rebound to form. But obviously they're taking calls. They're calling people. No one's calling about Vlad Tarasenko. This is I don't know. I'm glad somebody, I guess, said it so that we can be like, oh yeah, this is definitely happening. But nothing in my life has changed reading this. Obviously they were taking calls on him before. Obviously they have interest in moving him. They've had interest in moving him probably for 6 months now.
Right. I mean, Vladimir Tarasenko, for the record, has 1 year left at $4.75 million. After a season, he scored just 33 points, 11 goals. The season before that, in two different markets, Ottawa and Florida, where he won the Stanley Cup, he had, I think, combined 25 goals and 50-plus points in that season, and he was very good for the Panthers in the playoffs. This is a guy who you signed and you thought was going to be a very good addition to your depth scoring at the very minimum, maybe even top six scoring. And just wasn't pleasant. And that wasn't present, rather. And, there was something to be said about fit, right, with the Red Wings. How much of this is just Tarasenko wasn't necessarily a good fit with the team, especially when Lalonde was here because of the type of system Lalonde wanted to run and the type of player that Tarasenko was. Also just availability of minutes. If he could have worked on the top six, that would have been fantastic, but it just wasn't working, and he wasn't making it work in the bottom six either. He had no puck luck. So it's if you can move on from his contract, free up another nearly $5 million in cap space to go into the offseason with and maybe make a swing, that would be phenomenal. But Scotty, on the other hand, I also refuse to believe that he has just fallen off a cliff at 33 years old. This is a guy, again, just last year, scored 25 goals, or I guess would say 2 seasons ago, scored 25 goals. I feel a little bit of this is fit, and a little bit of this is just he had a down year. I think it was a little bit of an anomaly. I think in reality he is still a 20-goal scorer in the NHL. I think that you put him on a team, a different team, and he could theoretically bounce back. And I wouldn't even rule out him bouncing back with the Red Wings next year if you can't move on from him. It's one of those things, I think, like you put it, the best case scenario is you find a way to move on from his contract, just because it sounds like he wasn't too happy. Well, obviously, he wasn't giving the Red Wings what they needed. Best case scenario. But if you can't move on from his contract, then, I mean, with 1 year left on his deal, I just wouldn't completely rule out him bouncing back to some degree. I find it so hard to believe that a guy who had 56 points, 55 points the year prior, who played the bulk of his season with Ottawa, who missed the playoffs worse than the Red Wings did that year, he just completely falls off a cliff. There's just something about it that just doesn't pass the sniff test with me, and I almost would rather. No, I would rather move on from him. I want to make that clear. But like, if they couldn't, I think I'd be okay with trying him again. I'd rather move on from a guy like Justin Holl, who you're maxing out what you can get out of that guy. I think there's more still in Vladimir Tarasenko, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I just guess what, man? Like if they get a decent offer for Hall, they're gonna take that too. Like,
or yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's like yeah, like these reports are just. The sky is blue, the grass is green. Like, what else do we want to say? Like, yeah, again, it's people doing their jobs. I appreciate that, and I appreciate that it's concrete. But like, in terms of my reaction to it, like, I would assume they are shopping the guys that are getting paid a decent amount and are massively underperforming. Like, yeah, that tracks. Yeah.
And he's one of the easiest ones to move because, again, there is pedigree with his name, and he's got 1 year left on his deal. I believe he has trade protection, but he could, if he's truly unhappy, I'm sure he would waive it to go to a different market. The question then becomes is can you get positive value for him, or even break even on him, rather? Or are you going to have to attach a pick to offload him? I mean, it really comes down to, can you sell teams on, this is still Vladimir Tarasenko, and it was us. It didn't work. He didn't work here because of it was us. Like, we did not utilize him properly. I think there is a reality where you can at least break even on a Tarasenko trade. But if you really want to move on from him, the easiest way to do is attach a second round pick or one of those 2/3 you got, which obviously I mean, I would want to avoid doing if possible.
Yeah. I think the Wings obviously would too. I think there's probably a market for attaching a lower end pick and getting rid of most of that money, I would imagine. But I don't know.
Sorry, I was going to add on to that. He has a full no trade clause right now, but when the league year turns over, which I believe is July 1st, it becomes an 8-team no trade list. So after July 1st, you have a lot more flexibility to move him. You don't have to, only 8 teams you got to get approval for.
Again, like, if he's, if you technically have more flexibility, but like, what are the odds that they get a trade worked out on, June 20th, and he's like, no, I'm not going to go there. Then they're like, okay, we're just going to wait 10 days and do this again, and then you're gone. Like, you know what I mean? Because of that, I would imagine maybe you'd have trouble with one of the 8 teams that is, locked in the next year too. But like, I really can't imagine that's too much of a hurdle.
Right, especially because, again, there were rumors and reports circulating that, he wasn't too thrilled with how his role has played out here either. But yeah, David Pagnotta
also makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, Dave Pagnotta reports that the Red Wings are again listening to offers on Tarasenko. So, Scotty, let's take a quick break, and when we return, we'll talk about the new goalie in the Red Wings system before moving on to the Russian prospect everyone loves that is sounding like he's staying in Russia for another year as he gets dealt in the KHL. Stay tuned to segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings.
Got to talk to you all today about our friends over at Wonderful Pistachios. If you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, well, you can crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. Is the perfect grab and go snack for busy days. Whether I'm snacking on my desk, on a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, well, the in-shell options are a classic favorite as well. So get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
So the Red Wings signed, Scotty, a new goaltender. And Steve Yzerman continues his trend of just taking flyers and hoarding as many goaltending options as possible. He signed Michal Postava to a 2-year ELC, and he had a breakout year in the top Czech professional league with HC Kometa Brno. That's my best case. My best guess at how to pronounce that. 921 save percentage in 42 games played, 940 save percentage in the playoffs for his club over in the Czech league. He's just taking a flyer on a guy who had a great breakout year. He's 23 years old, so he's not necessarily like a young prospect. This is a guy who's already entering his prime. When it comes to this guy being signed, I probably would expect, and you probably agree with me, Grand Rapids depth, maybe Toledo depth, just another goalie for the crease while we develop the prospects that really matter.
Yeah. I think matter might be a little harsh, but yeah, I agree with you. I think that this is, I think that this is pretty comfortably just a case of, as you mentioned at the beginning, like they're just trying to hoard and throw as many darts on the board as possible and hope one of them lands in the middle. Obviously this doesn't really change anything in the eyes of, who the future goaltenders are, but it's always good to have organizational depth. It's certainly always good to have organizational depth with goaltending, as the Red Wings have learned kind of the hard way over the last few years. So, I'm never against bringing in, relatively young goaltenders. It's just a matter of, what the ceiling actually is there. But I don't know, on June 12th, I don't really care what the ceiling is. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, and according to Elite Prospects, his next season will be spent in the same league, same team, unless that changes now that he's signed. Who knows how fast that gets updated. If he does come over to North America, I don't think he'll end up playing a very pivotal role at the NHL level. I think he's mostly just depth. And I think it kind of may, and it's just my speculation, my best guess, I think it might spell the end for Jack Campbell's time with the Griffins as well, just because he didn't have necessarily like the best season. He wasn't terrible, but he didn't have the best season in the world either. And it kind of allows him to take come in and let Costa do the bulk majority of the starts, which he was doing already, but just really handle the workload, have another option. He might even find his way down to Toledo if Jan Bednar, again, just continues to play well and work his way into more NHL minutes. So there's a plethora of ways. You got other goaltenders in the pipeline as well. So there's just another guy that Yzerman wanted to take a flyer on, but there's not really too much, I think, to break down with this guy. I think he is just depth goaltending for Toledo and the Griffins if he comes over to North America at all.
I agree.
The other big news out of prospect land was Dimitri Buchelnikov. There was some speculation last week that he might be coming over to North America before his contract ended in the KHL in 2026 because his team might have just completely dissolved. That seems to not be the case. He got dealt from Vityaz Moscow region to CSKA Moscow, a significantly better team in the KHL. Finished, I think, 30 points higher than his team did in the previous season. This is a great move for Buchelnikov. Obviously, as Red Wings fans, we prefer if he could come to North America and start his journey to the NHL now. But last season, he was a breakout player, 54 points in 65 games played. We all saw the highlights of him on LGRW Prospects. And I think this is a good next step in his production to go to a much better organization, better Ryan organization too, to get important minutes with a better team. Surrounding himself with better talent is only going to help further elevate his game. And I think his contract's up in 2026, so we might be seeing him in North America next spring/summer. So that's the hope, at least. You know how it is with these Russian guys.
For sure. I think you really nailed it. I don't have too much else to add. I think this is just an exciting move for development because hopefully you see an increase in responsibility, I think, more than anything. So, super exciting.
Yeah. So hopefully he makes the leap at some point. I mean, I was really hoping he'd come over to North America too, just to play with the Griffins or something. But hey, what you gonna do? All right. And so next on our grag. Oh my God! Wow. Oh, Scotty, you can host. You take it away. What's next?
Next on our grab bag, because that is the phrase. Are we gonna? Is Norris next? Are we gonna talk Norris voting?
That or the goaltending. I mean,
Are
Coaching,
you okay?
Jesus. No, I'm not
Are you
okay.
good?
It's a long summer. It's been a long week.
It's Wednesday
either
right
either
now.
coaching or Norris, whichever
All right,
one
let's
you
do
want,
Norris
buddy.
first. We'll do
Okay.
coaching. We'll do coaching after, just because that's we can say that till after the break. Talk about some former Wings coaches. Norris, I don't know, man. It really seems like an offensive defenseman award, which I don't mind as much as other people. I think people get hung up on the word defense in defensemen. Like, yes, obviously you want your defenseman to be good at defense, but at the end of the day, like, is there a more impactful player on the blue line than Cal McCarr on a night-to-night basis, offense or defense included? Like, I think that there's a really good argument that there's not. So, I don't hate the oh look, all the guys with offense, but at the same time I feel like there needs to be, if it's not through the Norris, there needs to be some way to maybe more properly acknowledge defenders who are actually really good defensively.
Yeah, that's my big hangup. And just for the record, Cal McCarr won the Norris Trophy. I don't know if that was ever explicitly said.
Yeah.
And like, he deserved it. He is, he's a phenom. He's fantastic at what he does. My hang-up is just that, kind of what you alluded to there, where we have like 5 different trophies for forwards. We have 1 trophy for defense. we have 2 trophies at minimum, I think, for goaltending. It's
right.
Like, how do we only have 1 trophy for defense? And like, this isn't necessarily like, if you saw me on Twitter yesterday, I crashed out initially about Moritz Seider not getting a single vote until I came to my senses. But right. It's just kind of insane that Jacob Slavin is never going to win a Norris Trophy. This is a guy who's the best, in my eyes, defensive defenseman in the league. Like, gets just as hard, if not harder, deployments, especially this last year, than Moritz Seider does, and he thrives in that role. He's so imperative to the Carolina Hurricanes' success, and he thrives in the role. But his highest finish ever was 5th. He finished 8th this year with 2 third-place votes. All the rest of them were 13th and 11th. And I'm like, yeah, Cale Makar is fantastic, and he deserves to win a trophy that is oriented towards defensemen. But like, there needs to be a second trophy to highlight those defenders who are really good at the job that you're hired to do, which is play your zone. And now I understand the NHL is moving to a more fluid system. Defense play forwards, offense forwards play defense. That's how it should be. But like, there needs to be an award too that highlights those guys who do that, because like, you have guys who are defensive, like Erik Karlsson winning it with like 120 points, but just like the worst defensive metrics you've ever seen, because he just played as a 4th forward the whole year. Like, it's a little frustrating, because it also means that guys like Moritz Seider, who I believe should have been in the top 17 in Norris votes, never get a single vote. Now, why I'm not so upset about that anymore, Scotty, is because you're voting through 1 through 5. And so guys like Brock Faber, who had a terrible year, getting a 5th place vote, that's more offensive, because that means that some Minnesota beat writer threw his guy on there just for shits and giggles. And like, it's not respecting the ballot that's been placed in front of you. It's a little bit of a pedestal, I understand. Like, it's not that big a deal, but it's like, come on, there's no way you believe Brock Faber this year was better than Cale Makar, Werenski, Hughes, Morrissey, or Hedman, who finished 1 through 5 respectively. So like, Moritz Seider not finishing on there at all, I can't say he was better than any of those top 5 guys I just listed. So I'm fine with him not being on there. It's more of a problem with guys just voting their guys on there just so that they appear on the ballot. It's like, all right, like, what are we what are we doing?
Which is exactly what you want to have happen with Seider. But I think that
no, I've rectified that. I've pivoted. That was initially my complaint, but now I've pivoted.
Oh, okay. We live in a completely different world than we did just 4 hours ago. I think that Grindline, obviously we do a lot of stuff with them, great guys, and we talk with them often. They had a reply under your post that I thought was very, I don't know what the word I'm thinking of. It was smart. It was a good idea. And he said that they should have a defenseman award called the Orr, and it can be about offensive defensemen, and then one called the Lidstrom, and that can be, more catered toward defensive defensemen. And like, you know what I mean? Like, to your point, they have so many different awards for like every single variation of every other position, and then defensemen are just kind of like hosed. It's just like, no, You get one. If you're not the best,
Yeah.
you're last. So
Yeah, because like initially I was like, I can't believe nobody threw a vote in there for Seider. And then like once I remembered it's 1 through 5, I was like, yeah, actually he shouldn't, and neither should any of these guys. And that was where like I rebounded to. I'm like, it's actually insane that like Brock Faber got a vote. And, you know, guys like who else is on here? Like Shea Theodore, Jacob Chychrun, John Carlson, who are all really good defensemen. But like, really, those were one of the guys you voted over Makar, Werenski, Hughes, Morrissey, Hedman, Dahlin this year, Slavin again, who I'm
well, you could
hammering.
even look at like the bottom three there.
Like be
Faber,
serious.
Theodore, and Chychrun all got exactly 1 5th place vote. Like that is literally just a writer was just like, oh, I'm just going to throw them on there so that they can get on the ballot. Like everybody else on here at least got at minimum one other vote that wasn't just 5th place and got multiple of those votes. Those 3 guys at the bottom were literally just, you know, whether it's hometown or not, just beat writers that are like, oh, I want to make sure so-and-so gets on the ballot. So.
Yeah. So, and you know what's funny too is like Seider, when you do pull up his stats, because I was like, you know what, I'm still going to continue my more Seider propaganda because I do think he had a phenomenal year and he's underrated nationally. I mean, he finished 3rd in total time on the ice amongst all defensemen. Amongst all defensemen, he finished 18th in points, 46, finished 5th in hits at 212, 7th in block shots, 181, and 6th in time on the ice percentage versus elite at 41%. So like again, getting the whole spiel, like toughest deployments. Get power play 1, penalty kill 1, you know, but still thriving conversation. But because he is only 46 points, 50 points, not 80, he's never going to get the recognition that Cal Makar and Quinn Hughes and Zach Werenski do. And so that's, again, why I advocate, because he might have a shot at an award, you know,
I think it's fair,
catered towards defensive defensemen. Yeah,
I think it's fair. I think it's totally fair to be asking for both. Nice to see Werenski get, you know, nationally. He had such an awesome year, obviously, on the ice, was fantastic in 4 nations. Like, I feel like if there's one guy in the entire NHL whose, like, I don't know, image or like likeness grew, there may be no one more so than Werenski, and he deserves it.
Yeah, I'll be real with you. I think I would have probably voted Zach Werenski in 1 this year, just because he's
he got a lot of first place votes. Yeah.
Well, he got 13 first place votes, and Michal got 176. But
the gap between
the gap between 2 and 3 was huge.
He had 100 fewer than first place, but yes, relatively speaking, obviously.
Quinn Hughes, who finished 3rd, only had 2 first place votes for the record. So yes, he did get a pretty large margin of first and second place votes. I mean, I think Werenski. It's crazy to say this for a guy who just finished 2nd, but like I think he's underrated, and I think part of it's the market he plays in, especially with the lack of success the team has had. Yeah, I think that team makes the playoffs. He probably wins a Norris, and I think he will win a Norris at some point.
I think he will at some point too. Yeah.
Not that Cale Makar is the wrong answer because he was
not
great, but
I would have voted Makar. Yeah. I
mean, Werenski had like 85 points this season. He's playing on a scrappy team like the Columbus Blue Jackets, who, you know, went through a huge, massive tragedy that lost a star player, while Cal Makar plays for the Colorado Avalanche, who are a favorite every year. So,
right.
But again, that's why I don't vote. So I probably would have been the guy who gives the pity vote to Seider. I would have been mad at myself. Anyways, Scotty, let's go to segment 3 real quick, and we'll wrap up, talk about Detroit Red Wings coaches who found new gigs. Stay tuned to segment 3. Segment 3, Scotty, 3 Red Wings former coaches, assistant coaches, and head coaches found new gigs this week. We're late to this news. Completely slipped our mind the first 3 episodes of the week to even mention it, because I think Lalonde happened over the weekend. But Derek Lalonde lands a gig with the Toronto Maple Leafs as an assistant coach. That's the big one. Jay Verity lands as an assistant coach with the Flyers, and Bob Boughner heads to the New York Islanders as an assistant coach. Obviously, the headline here is Derek Lalonde, former head coach of the Detroit Red Wings, just this past season is now across the border with a major division rival in the Toronto Maple Leafs. Personally, I'm really happy for Derek Lalonde. I'm just very devastated for the team that hired him.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really care. Like this happens with every coach. You know, like if they want to keep coaching, then they find other work like that, especially in hockey where it's basically just everybody rehiring the same like 6 people all the time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, this is kind of just par for the course. Like, I don't really care. Good for him for finding work. And like the thing is, you know, we can talk about how it didn't work out here all we want. His resume as an assistant is stellar, right?
Yes,
his resume as an assistant is absolutely freaking spectacular. Now, part of that's probably situational, but like credit where credit is due, he's won a lot. He's been a part of a lot of winning teams as not the head guy. So, yeah, like good for him for finding work, and we'll see what happens. You know, this is like the 32nd most important thing that Toronto's going to do this summer. Like, like whatever, but good for him for finding work.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like a lot of Red Wings fans are going like, oh, rest in peace, Toronto. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. I'm like, you guys don't understand. Like, he was a highly touted assistant coach coming out of Tampa.
Yeah, he
like,
was
highly touted.
He was like
yes.
the high, like, and almost debatably in all of hockey. Like he was the guy that a lot of people were trying to pry away from Tampa for a long time.
And like, as we know, being a good assistant coach doesn't make you a good head coach, but he's going to go back to being an assistant coach. He's a well-liked coach by every single player that's ever played for him, and he's got a great analytical mind. He never was able to make it translate to the sheet of ice as a head coach, but I think this is a great pickup for Toronto, who's adding to their staff in a big way. I mean, anytime you heard him on Sportsnet, he sounded phenomenal. Like, this is a guy who knows his stuff, and he's a great assistant coach.
In you know the least like tinfoil hat way possible, he's been prominent parts of 2 of your division rivals. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
he loves the Atlantic Division
to have the insight of like 2 pretty prominent fixtures in your own division. Like that can't necessarily hurt either, I'm sure. So.
Yeah, so I'm really happy for him. I'm just devastated that he went to Toronto. It's like, oh my goodness, dude, come on now. Anyways, that's it. That's all I got. You?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything on the other coaches that left. You know, good for them.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
that's employment.
I mean, really, the biggest thing, you know, internally is seeing. I would imagine there's no more shuffling the rest of the summer. I'd imagine that already would have happened, but once the cup ends, there's usually, you know, a couple more of those kind of coaching carousel type of moves. So it'll be interesting. Again, I wouldn't imagine the Wings will be a part of that, but you never know. So it'll just be interested if, you know, if this is it, if the Wings current staff is it and kind of the end game for them, and this is what it's going to be on opening night, or if there's more to come. But yeah, good for everybody. Wishing you the best, and glad that people were able to find work post back-to-back unbelievable collapses, because that's probably not a guarantee.
And of course, we ball,
baby.
We'll be back with a new episode tomorrow. Probably Nikolai Ehlers. Been putting that one off for a while, so stay tuned for that. Same time, same place, your team, every day.